So hello, if it's Thursday, it is Think Tank Thursday at Trainertainment, and I could not be more excited than to have Mondo join us. This is guess I should do your real name, right?
It's
Armando.
okay. Friends get to call me Mondo, and you're my friend.
There you go. Armando is the president at Creative Works, and he has, I don't know if he volunteered or if I voluntold him that he should come on Think Tank, but somebody as brilliant as Mondo needs to spend time with us. That's
Well,
what I thought. Did I
as Russ likes
voluntold
to
you, or
say,
did you volunteer?
our VP of Sales, Russ, he likes to say it's a little of column A and a little of column B, right?
Oh, there you go. I like it. I like it. There you go, Russ. Well, that's awesome. Well, you and I had a great conversation in recent weeks, and I know all the great work that LaserTag 360 does, that you all, Creative does LaserTag 360 3 times a year. We're proud partners of that event. You are proud sponsors of the Trainertainment education piece, and one of the things that you all do so well and that I love at 360 is you really try to help people think about why they're getting into business, and does it even matter about, is it as important about the attractions they put into their facility, or is it more important about why they're doing what they're doing? And so with that in mind, I know you and I talked about that, and it's like, ooh, let's talk about why, and how did you get to, like, how did you get where you are at Creative Works today? Maybe talk about that and why you did what you did, because I know your path, and I think it's interesting, and so I'd love
Yeah.
to talk about that.
So my path is a little bit interesting. So I started in the entertainment sector, running a facility, managing teams, dealing with the chaos that is a Saturday of, 25, 30 birthday parties and hundreds of screaming kids and, party moms. So I understand what that chaos is. And it happened to be a facility that was built by Creative Works.
Okay.
And it was Kismet back in 2008. My wife and I, whom I met at Laser Flash, where I was managing, we were looking for, the next step in our lives, kids and needing insurance and all that kind of fun jazz. And, as a small business, they weren't able to offer us those things, unfortunately. And, Jeff at Creative Works, he was just basically like, too much, especially about laser tag. You guys are one of the better operated facilities in the world, and you happen to be here, and we happen to build your facility. So I don't know what you're going to do yet, but I want to hire you. And so that's kind of how it started, back then. And it's just definitely grown from a, hey, we were a small 10-person company, 12-person company, and I was doing project management to eventually take over sales and marketing and product development. And then I spent about 3 years at Party Center Software with our good friends over there and Scott Drummond, and helping him grow his business and learning a lot of different things about the software world, and getting to dip a little bit back more into my operations days, with just the nature of what a system like theirs is. And then back in 2016, I rejoined Creative Works and bought in with Jeff. And the rest has been a little bit of history. And unfortunately, Jeff, had some illness that set upon him in the fall of that year. So what went from a 5-year plan, right? Everybody has a 5-year plan on what they're going to work on, turned into a 9-month plan. As he had to step away and start working on his health and what his future changed to. And I stepped up and stepped into that role. And I couldn't have done it without, a ridiculously amazing team around me. But that's kind of the path to where we got to, and how I kind of came about being in the position that I'm in.
So that's great. So that's awesome, because I want the audience to understand how you got here and what you're doing. and now, I mean, a lot of people would have said, okay, here's my what, here's this 5-year plan, and Jeff's going to bring me along to, holy smokes, we gotta speed this thing up. And so I suspect that you are very connected to why you're doing this.
Very, very much so.
And so what's Mondo? I know you know what Creative Works' why is, and we'll get to that. But what's Mondo's why? You got a family to take care of. I heard all that in there.
Yeah.
But at the core, why do this? What's the why you're so connected to that makes you get out of bed earlier than others, makes you read more, makes you stay up later, makes you maybe miss a ball game only once in a while? I bet not often.
Not often.
Not often. What's that why for Mondo?
I mean, I think in the long part of it is, I've got basically my own mission statement, my own why literally plastered on my board. So not only is it a reminder to me every day, but to anybody that walks into my office so that they know what I'm doing it for. And it's pretty simple. Like, I want to provide an impact on those around me, and I want to better their lives and their circumstance, right? Or the short version is I want to leave people better than I found them, right? That's why I do this. It's the simplest thing, in whether that be my family, which is obviously very important to me, or my extended family, which could be work, which could be friends, or friends of friends, where I want to make sure that I'm providing value to others that they can then, use that to improve themselves or their situation or their circumstance. And then the second, there's a second piece of that, in that this one got added about 6-7 months ago to my thought process, from Simon Sinek, who obviously already has Start With Why, which is what is very popular right now and part of what we're talking about. He's got a new book that comes out, I think this month actually, called The Infinite Game. Okay. And so it's trying to think at life and business with an infinite mindset. This idea that our goal in business is survival, right? It's not like a football game. A football game has a very distinct start. It has a very distinct end. We know what the rules are, right? We know how to score points.
It's clear. That's right.
It's very clear. We know who our opponent is, right? And in business, there's not an end, right? There's not a point where, all right, I can declare I've won, I can pack it up, and I'm done into the sunset from now on, right? My opponents can change. Sometimes it's the opponents that I know, and sometimes it's the opponents I don't know. The rules change, right? What was true today is going to be different tomorrow. And I think that really opens yourself up to realize that, the goal is existential flexibility, that no matter what comes up, how do I, the goal is that existential flexibility. How do I survive, right? And one of the other important things about that I was recommended a great book by a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Michael Browning, was a book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And one of the comments in there is, right, the benefit of that survival, of making it to the next day, is that what was true yesterday about your circumstances could be different. There could be a new solution, a new way around it, a new opportunity to solve whatever the problem that you have is, but you have to exist that extra day to find that opportunity. So making sure that you're always focusing first and foremost on how to make that happen, I think is just a different way of looking at it in business, right? And that you're not looking to adjust to the finite pressure of the fire that's burning right now, as almost all entrepreneurs do, right?
Oh yeah.
We're firemen. Yeah. We're all just trying to put out whatever the most recent fire is, and sometimes ignoring something that might be more important,
Oh,
but less urgent.
100%, just 100%. The high performance zone resides in that not important, not urgent, but important zone. And we have such a hard time finding the time because we focus on that urgent and important stuff. I'm interested in hearing you use the word survival, because in my brain, survival, I get that whole image of, you're not old enough, but in the 70s there's a great classic poster of a cat that's just like hanging on to the wall or something. And so I get that image, and it's hard. Like, I don't want to survive, I want to thrive. And do you think there's a difference?
I think there is a difference, but I think that what a lot of people don't realize is that no different than, for example, the situation that I came into, life changes.
Yeah.
Circumstance changes that can be completely out of your control.
Oh, yeah.
And your ability to adapt and survive when times are not as good.
But anyway, I just got it. It just flashed on me exactly what you mean, because I would say, in my own personal position, we're in that I'm unable to thrive. I am able to survive and to do the things that need to be done so we can see another day. I totally get it.
And the hope is that then, because you survived, you have the opportunity to thrive once again, right? Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, is it's kind of like in sports, where nobody questions the sports team when they're winning, right? Or the culture of the sports team when they're winning. And they say that, hey, winning solves everything.
Yeah.
But it's how is that culture, and how are you responding when you are losing? Right? And knowing that maybe you are doing the things the right way, but you're taking a couple of bad bounces of luck, right? Or circumstance that are out of your control.
Right. Well, so I can see how your why then of wanting to impact others, wanting to have an impact on others, I can see how that gets you through, even in the good times and the bad, because it doesn't matter, right? Impact and influence and caring about others and trying to make a difference. Because I know you, I'm aware that a bunch of those people that worked with you when y'all were kids, literally, say how old y'all were at Laser Force.
There are 4 people on our team that worked for me while they were only 15 and I was 21.
And
20 and 21.
And you're like 28 now. So
I wish I was only 28 now. My wife and I had a few jokes about the age. She's a little bit younger than me, and she likes to tease me I'm going to hit Social Security before she does, in that senior citizen discount. But no, I'm 38 now, so a little bit older.
30.
Yeah.
But I just think it speaks to, like, when I ask you, Mondo, about your why, and you say to me, it's so I can have impact on others, that I can leave people better. Man, it makes me cry to think about it. But that I can leave people better than
I found them.
Than I found them. And when I see that, and I see the 20 plus years of the consistency of you doing that, and that you have those people that have gone with you and they've thrived. The Dannys and the Russes and the Nicks, they thrive there with you at Creative Works. Well, tell me about Creative Works. What's Creative Works is why?
Well, I think it actually kind of, it borrows from that a little bit, right? And I think this goes back to where you started your conversation. We don't sell laser tag arenas. We don't sell virtual reality. We don't sell escape rooms or mini golf or whatever of our other products. And this is, again, something that we share a lot with Michael Browning over at Urban Air, for example, in that we're selling a memory. We're selling emotion, right? We're selling an experience. And we're competing with the couch. And how do we get somebody who's we've got to create an experience that's so good and so different and so much better that, you know, than what you can get at home with your high definition TV and your comfy couch and your own snacks.
Mm-hmm.
You're willing to get off the couch, come down to one of our partners' facilities who's installed one of our attractions, right? And then pay money for it.
Yeah.
So you've got to go through that effort. And let me tell you, as a father of 3 boys, 6 and under, it takes some effort to want to leave the house at times, right? You have to have a conscious, you know, intentional decision to want to leave the house at times. And we realize that that's how it is for everybody. And that when they are often coming to your facility, they are coming for one of 2 things. And it's either to celebrate something together or to escape something, right? And what are they at your facility for? And then, so any of our partners who've installed our attractions, the same thing is true for them. What are they selling? It's not a game of laser tag. It's a moment to share that experience with each other, right? That's what that is.
Right.
And I think that's a difference. And that goes right back to my personal why, right? I want to leave people better than I found them. I want those people who might be escaping something to have a few moments where they're not worried about whatever the problems are in their world. They're able to just enjoy themselves and the attractions that we create, because we can, you know, create such of a wow effect, just like our website says. Right? It's that wow effect that stops them in their tracks and gets them to take a breath and gets them to experience something that takes their mind off of whatever's going on, or further enhances the good things that are going on, because they're there to celebrate. Awesome. And they're able to be like, this is awesome, and this made my celebration that much better.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I have a couple of questions, and we got a couple of folks on Facebook Live, and if you all have direct questions for Armando, please ask him. But I'm curious to know how you've used that why, how you've linked that. We're going to create memorable, you know, we're going to create things that help create memorable experiences for others. How do you use that in your company? How do you use it to hire, train, maybe even fire? Like, specifically, can you give me some examples of how you've used your why to make your business better?
Well, I think that what a lot of people get wrong is that they focus first on their product and their product viability, and they don't first focus on their people. Your people are your biggest resource, right? And so it should go people, then product, then profits, right? Because this will get taken care of if you took care of the other things. And if you took care of the people, then they'll take care of your products or your customers, you know, whatever your product might happen to be. And so I think one of the things that has definitely contributed to our large growth over the last 3 years, where we've tripled in size. We've made the Inc. 5000 fastest growing company list 2 years in a row. We're coming out to IAPA with 2 brand new products yet again, that we think are going to be really awesome. But that contribution from our team is the only way any of that could have happened. And it was because we focused on the team, right? And to do that, we had to not just walk the walk, talk the talk, but walk the walk. Like, we implemented things from like Netflix's Culture Deck, where, you know, if you need to take time off, you take time off. I'm not counting your PTO, right? If you're on the salary team, if you need to take maternity leave, you just get maternity leave. Like, we're not bickering. I don't want you worrying about how you're paying your bills because you're having a kid. And as somebody who's had 3 young kids, I know what that can be like. You know, and don't want that to be for anybody. That should be the least of your worries in that time, is how you're going to pay your bills, while you're cherishing those first, you know, few months with your child, and in trying to create ways for our team to learn and grow. So we've sent people to Tony Robbins, to Entree Leadership with Dave Ramsey. We had a group that was just down at a conference in Nashville, and they were listening to Kim Scott talk about, you know, radical candor and teams and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And we find it very important to reinvest in your team. You know, we've got other team members, even on our production side, that we've helped them go do some vocational training. We've brought people in, you know, we've increased our wages, our benefits, and everything along those lines. I think it's just focusing on them and then hiring the right people, because you're providing a different standard than, you know, somebody that could go work at the Amazon warehouse, right? There's a different standard that you're providing, but that means that there's a different expectation you can also have for what they're bringing to the table and making sure that they're committed. And the biggest thing is just making sure you're having those discussions when things, you know, maybe aren't going as smoothly as they should, so that you can get them on the right track again.
That's awesome. I'm assuming you have those discussions right away rather than hope they'll get better.
You have to. You have to, right? And sometimes the thing is those situations, and I'm not perfect at it. Have I put off certain conversations? Don't get me wrong. Of course I have. It's human nature, and by the nature of our business, we go to a lot of trade shows, conferences, we have a lot of travel, so sometimes things can't always happen in real time. But the longer you let somebody flounder in a position, the more damage they have to not only themselves, but their team and the company. And so you have to try and address things as timely as they can. You also have to try and find out what the root causes are, right? Sometimes it could be things that are happening at home. It could be things that are happening that have nothing to do with work, their desire, their willingness to be part of the company, or their ability. They may still love Trainertainment or Creative Works or Jim Bob's FEC, right? It doesn't matter. They may still love that company, but things at home outside of their bubble of work could be having an impact. That could be causing an issue. And sometimes they just need to know that they shouldn't be afraid to bring that to you, so that you can provide them help or have some understanding, because that's where things typically get the worst, right? Is where there's a lack of communication or communication breakdown. And so you just assume that, oh, they just hate my company now, or they're already looking for a new job, when they've got a family member that maybe is ill, or they're having marital problems at home, or one of their kids, you know, is having difficulties, whatever the case may be.
Sounds like to me that you are absolutely committed to the people first and having an impact, a lasting impact. I love it. I just love it. Well, hey, so we're committed at Trainertainment. I mean, one of the reasons we believe that we're to be is that we're real committed to helping people grow. And we know that we really can do the very best for people who wish to be extraordinary. If you don't have that desire, we probably aren't a really good fit, because just like what you're saying, you know, the expectations are real high, that if you get into the groove with growth, you better want a bunch of it if you're going to deal with us, right? And so to that end, one of our team members has challenged me to come up with a signature think tank question.
Ooh.
And so I'm going to try it out on you first, Mondo. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
I want to know, from a growth perspective, what do you do for yourself and for others to stay committed to personal growth?
I think the first and easy thing is to make sure that you have a routine for whatever it is that you're trying to grow with. Whether it be a diet or education or whatnot, it becomes a lot easier to continue down that path if you can form a habit, where if it becomes that second nature of doing it. You know, so for me, one of the big things that I do, for example, is listen to audiobooks. I have about a 40-minute commute each way to work.
Good.
And so one of the things that I do is I'm an avid audiobook listener, and you know, I'm listening instead of just turning on the tunes and jamming out. And don't get me wrong, there are occasional days I do that. But I try and ensure that the first thing I do once I get in the car and get out of the driveway is start the book, right? And you know, typically in the mornings, because I do go in a little bit earlier at times than others, you know, I I don't have to worry about calls or other things that are going on. Now in the afternoon of my commute home, sometimes I'm just conducting meetings, during that car time. But if I don't have one, again, it's the same thing. I try and, continue down that path of listening to a book.
What are you listening to currently?
So I'm finishing my second go through of The Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Okay, great. I got to write that down.
Yeah, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I just finished Daring Greatly and Daring to Lead, both by Brene Brown, right?
I love Brene Brown. Yep.
Phenomenal books that I highly recommend. For any business owners out there, especially if you're, having to constantly deal with contracts and negotiations, leases, whatever, big proponent of Never Split the Difference.
Yep.
It's a really, really good book as well that I definitely recommend.
That's awesome. So what do you do? How do you inspire? How do you help others in their quest to grow? Because oftentimes I find in a leadership position, we want a lot more for others than they can even begin to imagine for themselves. And people have to be ready for it. But what are the things you do to try to help people in your team?
I think you're right. And I think one of the first things that you need to do as a leader in those positions is have the conversation with them. Do you ask your team members where they see in the next 12 months, the next 2 years, the next 5 years? And don't just arbitrarily leave it about their work life. It's really easy to be like, well, I want to move up the ladder and I want to do this or that, right? No, what does your life look like, right? Paint me that picture in your personal life, as well. Like, are you looking to get married? Are you looking to have kids? Are you looking to go back to school? Because what you can then do is you can ask them about, well, what is not true today that has to be true for you to get there?
Oh man, that's a great question, Mondo.
Right?
What is not true today
that has to be true for you to achieve your goal, whatever that goal might be.
That's great.
And then once they write that out and they put some thought into it, and it's not something that's typically going to necessarily happen right on the spot. They might need some time. Then you can have an additional question that's like in conversation about, well, how can we help you? Are there any of these things, these milestones that we can help with, right? Or where do you need some encouragement, to achieve those goals? I think is, it's really easy to be able to say, hey, I want something grandiose and I want something big, and just assume that it's out of reach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you actually instead said, hey, this is what I want, and start going, well, what needs to happen for me to get there? What needs to change that I'm not doing now that if I did, I could start moving that way, right? And sometimes it's little things. And if you want to be really candid with your audience here, a lot of times people will say, I want this.
Yeah.
But they don't really want it because they're not willing to work for it.
Oh yeah.
They're just not willing to put in that time. Like, they'd rather watch 6 more episodes on HBO or Netflix, which takes 6 hours.
Right.
But they'll be the first person to say, I don't have time to accomplish my goals. Well, you had time to binge watch. So did you not really have time? Or is it just how you chose to spend your time? Now, I'm the first guy. I'll play a lot of video games in a week. That is my way of turning my mind off, because I can't do a passive activity. I have to have an active activity if I'm trying to turn my mind off from work.
Yep.
So that's my, find yours, and everybody needs to have a release. Not saying that you don't, but when you're saying like, I can't achieve my goals or I don't have time to do this, why don't you? Let's take a real honest look at why don't you have that time.
What would it take? What would need to be true for you to have the time? I love that, Mondo. I wrote every bit of that down.
What would need to be true? Do you need to wake up earlier? Do you need to stay up later?
Wow.
Do you need to, reduce your time binge watching shows?
Right.
Right? Whatever the case may be. And then you just, again, you've got to set those boundaries and create those habits. right? Set your alarm so it's going to wake you up a little bit earlier, and don't snooze it. Make sure frankly, you get your ass up out of bed, right? Get up and go. If you need to spend more time with your family, with your spouse, with your kids, make sure that you put your phone on do not disturb, during dinner time, right? To ensure that you have that ability to have that direct connection and not get interrupted or whatever the case may be.
That's wonderful. So one of the Derwin Jordan is Facebook lists him as a top fan, and he is a top fan of Think Tank Thursday. I love it, Derwin, that you step back and decide that you're going to do thinking on Thursdays with us. And he's been real poignant here. I'll just share this with you.
Sure.
At our level, you don't get much feedback. If you're the top dog, who are you accountable to? It's one of the reasons I'm in a CEO group, right? You have to ask specific questions, starting with, how can I make you happier right now? I love that question, Derwin, and I would share with you that I don't think we have the power to make other people happier. I do think we can ask them, how can we help? And things like that. But I got to tell you, I think people are in charge of their own happiness. I wish I had that superpower, but I don't know that we do.
No, I've got the quote literally, to the side here from Charles Swindoll. I'm not going to read the whole long thing, but the summary is, right, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you choose to react to it.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
True. He said, number 2, your managers are under your arm. Making one-to-one time for them is crucial, and they do want that one-to-one time. It's amazing. If somebody's standing at your door over and over again, they're probably not getting everything that they need. So make it important to do something fun or something you like. Mandatory every week. There's plenty of stress that will find you. Squeezing in some peace is paramount. I came up with a phrase that I live by. There is no I in team, but there is a you in us. Individually, I'm weak, but my team represents all my strength and growth. Wow. Derwin, I'm probably going to quote you too, man. Thank you. We're going to have you as a guest. You keep this stuff up, Derwin, you're going to have to come on as a guest of Think Tank. Oh, man, this has been a fantastic 35 minutes, Mondo. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate your time. I know you're so busy, but you're so brilliant. Why is not some willy-nilly mission, vision, blah, blah, corporate speak? It is the stuff that's in here. If it's in here, people will use it, right? They'll make decisions. They'll make good business decisions. They'll make decisions for themselves if they're connected to that why that impact the world. And I think that as entrepreneurs, I think that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to make a difference. And man, it was just a joy to have you stop and take time to think with us again. Will you promise to come back?
Of course.
Okay. Awesome.
Voluntold.
You're voluntold. So if you've got an idea that you want to have talked about and thought about, please send your thoughts into Think Tank Thursday at trainertainment.net. We've got people in the queue. We'll begin to post kind of what's coming up, so you could put it on your schedule. We do know that most people view our Think Tank Thursday after the fact, after we do it. Mondo, thank you for doing it live with us.
Oh, of course.
And I love the thinking. I really appreciate the time and can't wait to see what folks have to say. And if you'll check back on the Traintainment Facebook page once in a while, they may have direct questions, and I'd love for you to be able to answer if you could.
Will do. Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. If it's Thursday, it's Think Tank time at Traintainment. Appreciate y'all being here.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.